It's more aliens. Aliens. It's XCOM 2 from Firaxis and Feral Interactive on the Unreal Engine 3.5. And unlike D&D 3.5, there's no big improvement over 3.0 here. You can pick it up for $60 US, 50 euros, or 80 wet, stinky, filthy Canadian fuck you dollars. And what is it? XCOM is the sequel to the award-winning strategy game XCOM Enemy Unknown. 20 years have passed since humanity lost the war against the alien invaders, and a new world order exists on Earth run by Mexicans. After years of working in the shadows, XCOM forces must rise and eliminate the alien occupation. So you're playing terrorists. Yeah. Basically. So let's kick off the chairquisition. We got our category, or we got 1 chair equals blah, 2 chairs equals meh, 3 chairs equals pretty good, and 4 chairs equals amazing. Categories of doom mixed with the working. Shiny sounds, controls, and fun. I completely butchered that. It's because I'm under the mental influence of aliens. Ben, let's kick this off. Make with the working.
All right, over here on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS, 8150 powered, 4K displayed with an extra 980 sauce tied in.
Take a shot.
It technically runs. Air quotes. I'm sorry, air quotes. Let's put that in there. It genuinely does hang on the turns to the point of like wondering if the game froze. Like you're like, is it? Oh, there it goes. All right, that's the thing. And speaking of that, we played a little bit of multiplayer. J-Man's going to get into that a bit more than me, but the multiplayer hanging between turns makes that look like the fuck-mothering Flash. I mean, it does. It's like, what is this thing doing? You have no idea. Then you got to think about load times. All I can say about that is, wow. Really? What? You have time. Not to make a cup of tea, but you can prepare a cup of tea and put it in your fucking microwave and set it and come back and like,
When you complete your turn, you can go fetch the cup of tea, and by the time you come back to your beds.
It's about that. And one other thing with makes with the working is sometimes the camera will focus on an empty area of the map while the aliens are making with the moving, and that's not exactly helpful, Brad. So it's not busted, but it's only 2 chairs worth.
So under normal circumstances on the Fedora 22 powered Intel i7 6700K with the NVIDIA GTX 980 at the 4K, which don't even bother trying to play this game at 4K. Just don't. You're gonna have a bad time. So I would give it normally 3 chairs, but then just because of the choppiness, the general bugs, not that much to detract from the overall experience, but they're still there and they should still be accounted for in said chair acquisition. But you lose an additional chair because the multiplayer. Ben and I sat down yesterday to, see if the multiplayer worked, and I mean, it functions sort of kind of when it's not noping to your desktop or failing to connect.
We were at the point of, if this one doesn't work, we're just going to give up.
Yeah. And eventually it did work, sort of.
Air quotes.
But, yeah, so by the time I finished my turn, Ven had to wait like 5 minutes, and then he saw my movements. He had to wait another 2 minutes, and then he could go. And this was back and forth. And if you watch this, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you're probably going to be able to see this. It gets pretty bad. We get pretty annoyed. And the other thing, pro tip, if you're tired of waiting after you complete a mission, just hit caps lock because it will immediately close that loading screen. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. It gets 2 chairs. Oof.
Yeah, at this point, I suppose the only thing I can add is that the game didn't really ever crash for me. On the Fedora 2364-bit FX 8370E with the GTX 970, never really crashed. Like Ven, I did find myself wondering whether or not the game had hard noped at several points, but it always eventually came back. One thing to note is that out of the 8 cores of the FX 8370E, it pegged one of them at 100%. 6 of them were somewhere between 20 and 40%, and there was always one not doing a damn thing. It was always idle. Feral, what the hell? 2 chairs.
Yeah, you'd figure they have learned to AMD after the whole Alien Isolation thing, but
yeah.
2 chairs for makes with the working. Up next is the Shinny and the Sounds. Ben.
All right, granted, it looks better than XCOM Enemy Unknown, but not that much better. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, since XCOM EU looked a bit of all right. The first thing you might notice is daylight in my XCOM. Who would have thought? That's kind of refreshing. Yay, hashtag on that business. The maps are still hella detailed, and that goes double for the playable soldiers. Speaking of, they have put the uncanny Valiotron on 11 in this game. I mean, it's like spirits within, like woogie boogie. And I was like, good job. I like that. However, Jordan is going to cry about the overall aesthetics of the game. But considering the aliens curb-checked old Mother Jassoom, it actually kind of fits. It's XCOM, baby. So you know the audio is going to be top-notch, along with that voice talent. I dig it, even though I have to dig it very slowly and kind of jerky. It's still going to get 4 chairs.
Yeah, I mean, much of what Fed said. The voice acting is, consistent with XCOM 1, which was top notch. The level design is about the same. The customization for your characters has just been ramped up to 11. My God, this is some Skyrim level shit in terms of customization. And that was pretty impressive. Plus, they have this neat little thing that lets you share your squaddies. So I can have a Pedro McBullet Sponge or a Mama Stone. But yeah, as for my complaint, I like the visual aesthetic of XCOM 1 better. It's the Unreal Engine 3.5 kind of griminess. Everything seems just extra, black lines and whatnot. It's super racist. I'll give it 3 chairs though.
Yeah, with 3.5, they've definitely made it slightly more realistic, as it were. And I guess that explains some of the griminess that Jordan has an issue with. The frame rate issues aside, this is a very good looking game. On my end, it didn't really matter whether I had the game on ultra or the very lowest settings, because the most that I'd ever get while I was on a mission was like 48 frames a second. So, I mean, graphics are pretty good. The characters still look like they fell face first into the Uncanny Valley, but that's what I've come to expect out of XCOM. The sounds, it's a very good sounding game. The voice acting is great, as usual, and albeit limited, because, hey, where the hell are the Portuguese voice sets? The choice of voice sets that you can actually pick for your characters are pretty damn well done. They are, with the exceptions of the missing ones. At this point, I wouldn't even have, complained if there were only Brazilian Portuguese voice sets. I would have been okay with that. Just a little bit more variety. No, you got English, Spanish, Russian, Polish, and a couple of others. You get really nothing else. So can only get 3 chairs from me.
All right, so that's 3 chairs for the shiny and the sands. Up next is Control. Then did it change from XCOM?
It didn't. If you know XCOM, same deal. And these two yahoos are going to be like, oh my God, it did work. Shrug emoticon, everything worked. I mean, I wouldn't imagine playing XCOM with anything other than a keyboard and gerbil, and it just worked. Out of the box, no issues with it, with a possible exception of maybe you're going to have some issues getting it synced properly with your Nintendo Power Pad, but 4 chairs for that all day long.
Yeah, so everything is the same as XCOM 1, as was mentioned, but they made a pretty big deal in the advertising campaign for this. Oh, this game plays awesome with the Steam controller. You can get one for 40% off if you buy it with XCOM 2. So, I bought myself a Steam controller ages and ages ago, and I decided to give that a shot. And I figured this will probably last about 20 minutes, and I was right. Flip keyboard over, try and hit the Spock button, realize Nimoy is dead, find the other keyboard with the nope button, slam on that, and let the satellite Ken vaporize me and take me out of my misery. Just nope. I mean, like, the various, like, areolas and whatnot are mapped to what you would expect, except the sensitivity is jacked way the fuck up. And this is... And, like, right and left click are using the trigger buttons, which is the stupidest idea. Just use the face buttons. It would make a lot more sense. Guys, if you're going to say that the Steam controller makes this game playable from your couch, make sure that the recommended 4-axis config, which I used, actually works, because it don't. But beyond that, that's only enough to ding it 1 chair. I was going to be meaner and ding it 2, but I changed my mind, so it gets 3.
Yeah, every time I started this game, I could hear a in the background, and I started wondering, what the hell is that? Yeah, it turns out if I had the NVIDIA Shield controller plugged in, it would actually pick up on it and assume that it had one of the axes constantly pressed down. That was not okay, and after unplugging the NVIDIA Shield controller and trying to play the game, more than once did I click to move a character to what the game told me it would only take a single, action point. And the moment I clicked it, I would hear the character saying double time or running, and my turn would be over. It's like, what? At that point, I could have actually, assumed that it was my noobishness if I hadn't played XCOM Enemy Unknown or Enemy Within, but I did all the way through. That's not really the case. Something is very wrong with the way that this game indicates whether or not you're taking 1 turn or 2 turns. The feedback is outright busted. I don't know why, but for some reason, whenever I thought that I was taking 1 turn, I was actually taking 2. So it can only get 2 chairs when it comes to the controls.
That's 3 chairs. One other thing to note is that the mission select and the stalling UI has significantly changed. The barracks and whatnot have been the same, but the new UI is a little bit confusing, especially from the outset, coming right off of XCOM 1. But that's a wee irrelevant. Finally, we got our fun category, then.
Fun
I see
with a
you
question
missed the
mark.
points.
All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's XCOM 2. So if you enjoyed the first one, you're going to find this one a bit of all right as well. It introduces a neat stealth mechanic that, when it works, allows you to set up some straight-up traps of nope. It's glorious. Again, when it works. New tech, mech suits, drones, and brain hacking. What's not to love? Well, there's a couple of things, Brad. Aliens still get free movement when discovered, and that's bullshit. Has always been bullshit and will continue to be just that. Bullshit.
Not the case in multiplayer either.
Now, on the topic of bullshit, before I'm so rudely interrupted, most of my soldiers' eulogies read something along the lines of, grabbed by a snake, killed by a bug. Seriously, Vipers can straight up grab your ass through walls. That is, when they're not busy dragging you under the mothering map. But at least you can defend yourself, right? Question mark, he says, baby. Well, that might be trickier than you think, since all available soldiers consist of rejects who flunked out of the Empire's accuracy proficiency training program. Seriously, F-at. Even if you do manage to nope your target, don't get too excited, because this game loves surprise skull fuckings. Not your standard run-of-the-mill difficulty enhancement shite. Oh, heavens no. This is straight up one move away from the target when 2 rando baddies show up and one-shot your 2 remaining characters, because fuck you, and that's why. However, busted as it is, I've still managed to pump 9+ ons into it. And that fuckery aside, it's still a proper bit of fun. Well, if you don't mind paying 59 wet stinky cashes for what is essentially an early access title. So, I'm going to have to give it 2 chairs with an asteroid.
Now, of course, we have to reiterate that Feral is not responsible for making this game sing. They're given a code base and they're told, make this work on Mac and Linux. So from that perspective, they've done their job, albeit to some degree of success. As for the fun, it definitely has the same time sink factor that XCOM Enemy Unknown / Within has. I mean, I staying at work late this week, I was grinding my teeth. He's like, God damn it, I want to go home and play some XCOM 2. It took me a little while to get into it coming off of XCOM 1, but once you start getting going, you like, yes, must do more missions. Oh, wait, it's midnight. I need to go sleep so I can function as a human being tomorrow. And And they've added some new added depth stuff, like the stealth aspect. That's pretty nice. The one thing that bothers me, though, is there's only one class that actually allows you to retain stealth after one of your dudes has been exposed, because they're apparently prescient psionics, as once they see one of your guys, they see all of your guys. There is your standard bullshit for turn-based strategy. A lot of the rescue missions and the retaliation stuff is like, go run out in the open and get your guys shot 15 billion times to rescue some civilians, because otherwise you're not going to make any money and you're going to die. And the game eventually just turns into fighting a countdown clock. Every month these guys get a little square on their bar of doom, and you got to take action to ensure that that goes down, or else you just lose. End of story. Bye-bye.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, like Vin said, the skull fuckings aren't fun, but you know, that's what autosave is for. You can go back and know better. These guys are anti-save scum. I'm totally that guy. I'm unapologetic about that. I don't give a fuck. And goddamn, those UFO missions, you better fucking run away from them or you are fucked. But all said and done, I enjoyed it. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm going to give it 3 chairs.
Yeah, like Jordan mentioned, those UFO missions, seriously, fuck those. If you get the chance to do one of those Advent missions that counteract the UFO thing, pick that one. Seriously, you do not want to do that mission. That's basically the point where I stopped playing. I was like 8 hours in, and I could not for the life of me play anymore, because as far as I'm concerned, there's an awesome game in XCOM 2. It's buried deep inside all of the performance issues and everything. It's buried down there somewhere, but when it comes down to it, you're digging through layers and layers of shitty performance and non-optimization. It's I don't know. In a way, this kind of bullshit sort of makes me wish that parallel computing had become a thing instead of the single core worship that we have going on nowadays. Because instead of actually having multi-threading, no, guess what? Games will spawn a job on one thread and say, you get to take that thread. Okay, that thread's kind of taken up now, so the other thread now gets another job. That's single core computing at its finest, and that's what this game does. And that's what makes those load times be so excruciatingly big, except that if you hit the caps lock button while you're waiting for one of those, you're waiting to go back to your home base, or you're waiting for the mission to start. If you hit caps lock, oh, hey, the load timing's over. What the hell? How did that happen? I don't know. Maybe you can blame Feral for that. Maybe you can actually blame Firaxis. Firaxis has kind of had...
That's a thing on the Windows version, too.
Yeah, the Firaxis kind of had a spotty history when it comes to Windows ports of games. And they've always come out... Well, they haven't come out optimized. That's basically it.
So if you had to give us the chairs on fun...
If I have to give it the chairs on fun, I can only give it 2, because I can't, for the life of me, keep playing it at this point.
That's brilliant. 2 chairs for fun with an asteroid on there. So if we tally all that up, we get 2 chairs with an asteroid for the final score. Vin, I think you put it rather succinctly in the final thoughts section.
Well, to reiterate what you said, I mean, I think Feral did a perfect job of getting this ported to Linux. Unfortunately, what they were given to port is essentially an early access title that is not ready.
It's busted.
Yeah, I mean, you know it's a good port when you go and read the Windows players, like, and you're like, yeah, I'm having all the exact same issues. It's like, I'm not having worse issues. I'm having those exact issues. Good job, yeah. Feral.
Consistency.
I genuinely mean that. I mean, you guys did a very solid port of which is essentially not a very good game yet. But what I want to say as a final thought is this game is going to be wicked sick a year from now. P-Man?
Yeah, a year from now, when they finally sorted all of the non-optimizations and all the performance bullshit that's been going on. Because that is the really big complaint about this game. If you look at their Steam forums, it's every other thread, people are going, oh yeah, the performance is shit. Yeah.
All right.
No shit.
I mean, the original XCOM had some issues too, and time sorted that out. So I agree. I still had fun playing it. I would recommend if you're a fan of turn-based strategy and you were waiting for this game, pick it up. You won't regret it. Just be aware, caveat emptor.
But I mean, come on. I mean, it's like 80 Canadian dollars.
It is 80 Canadian dollars, which is a bit insane, but that's because our exchange rate has gone to the toilet.